A very good afternoon to you, family member, and welcome to the news. Be more responsible, stop killing the environment, stop pipeline vandalism and indiscriminate disposal of all kinds of waste. I am Rosemary Eze. In the highlights, INEC calls for better funding ahead of 2027 elections. NDC vice presidential candidate calls for unity among northern and southeast region. Communities in Okrika local government area declare Eleme territory. Plus, Kenyan High Court rejects calls for legalization of the use of cannabis. Details coming up shortly. And thank you for joining us on the news. We'll begin with the report that the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Joash Amopiton, has appealed to the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission for increased and sustained funding, improved staff welfare and greater investment in electoral infrastructure ahead of the 2027 general elections. Amopiton made the appeal during a courtesy visit to the chairman of the RMAFC, Dr. Mohammed Bello Shehu in Abuja, saying that the engagement was aimed at strengthening collaboration between the two federal agencies. According to a statement issued on Tuesday and signed by INEC's Director of Voter Education and Publicity, Mrs. Victoria Etta Messi, INEC's constitutional responsibilities extend beyond conducting presidential, governorship and legislative elections to include continuous voter registration and the registration of political parties, hence the need for adequate funding for the Commission's operations. The INEC chairman noted that the cost of conducting governorship election alone exceeds the combined cost of the presidential and National Assembly elections, adding that the Commission also bears the financial burden of pre-election and post-election activities, including election petitions arising from party primaries. In another development, the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC has said it will recognize only the candidates submitted by the Senator David Mark-led leadership of the African Democratic Congress, confirming that the faction has already nominated candidates for 471 elective positions ahead of the 2027 general election. INEC National Commissioner Mohammed Haruna told newsmen that the Commission granted the Mark-led faction access to its nomination portal following the Supreme Court judgment affirming its leadership, adding that the rival faction had no legal basis to submit candidates. The ADC, however, called for the investigation and prosecution of its factional leader Nafiu Gombe following INEC's clarification that the claims that Gombe uploaded the party's candidates for the 2027 general election through the Commission's nomination portal were false. Reacting to INEC's clarification, the ADC welcomed the Commission's position and accused Bala of attempting to mislead Nigerians. The 2027 vice presidential candidate of the Nigeria Democratic Congress, NDC, Rabiu Kwankwaso, has called for renewed political cooperation between northern Nigeria and the southeast, saying that both regions share a long history of political alliance that should be revived. Kwankwaso, who made the remarks in an interview with a foreign media organization, said Nigeria's political leaders had over the years demonstrated the importance of reconciliation and inclusion, particularly after the Civil War, urging Nigerians to embrace forgiveness and national unity. The former governor of Kano State recalled the alliance between the Northern People's Congress and the National Council of Nigerian Citizens during the First Republic, noting that the partnership was led by prominent leaders, including Nnamdi Azikiwe. Kwankwaso also cited the Second Republic when President Shehu Shagari and leaders of the National Party of Nigeria worked closely with politicians from the southeast. A United States lobbying firm, Von Batten Montague York, has called that it would report the arrest of self-acclaimed Director General of the controversial Presidential Foreign Investment Promotion Council, PFIPC, Adeniyi Adeyini, to the U.S. government. The U.S.-based firm said this in a statement posted on its X handle earlier today. According to the firm, Adeyemi's arrest came as it was preparing to facilitate discussions between him and senior members of President Donald Trump's administration over allegations he had made against top Nigerian government officials. The statement added that Adeyemi was expected to provide documentary evidence and a sworn statement to U.S. officials. The statement came after an earlier post by the firm's managing partner, Carl Von Batten, stating that he had briefed members of Trump's team on Adeyemi's allegation and planned to engage members of the U.S. Congress. Several key locations currently associated with communities in Okrika local government area of Rivers State, including the Okrika Waterfront, Abam Community, Okochiri Community, the PPMCJT, OGS Secondary School, Okrika Motor Park and Okrika General Hospital have been declared as part of Eleme territory. The declaration was contained in a communique issued at the end of the joint congress by some Eleme indigenes who also called on the Rivers State government to urgently implement the recommendations of previous judicial findings to permanently resolve the lingering boundary dispute between Okrika and its neighboring community. According to the communique signed by the chairman of Eleme PhD Forum, Dr. Joseph Ubele, Secretary Engineer Eric Chujo, and Secretary of the Eleme Graduates Forum, Mr. Caleb Akara Osaro, said the declaration is supported by both the report of the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into the Eleme Okrika crisis and the judgment of the Supreme Court in suit number FSC 123/1958. The group reaffirmed their determination to pursue the recovery and protection of the disputed area strictly through legal and constitutional processes. The Congress also appealed to Rivers State Governor Siminala Ifubara to facilitate a permanent demarcation of the boundary between Eleme and neighboring communities in line with the recommendations contained in the relevant white paper. You are listening to Family Love FM News. The news continues in just a moment. Still to come, federal government approves special production-linked tax credit for Shell, plus other stories to stay with us.
Stay up to date with the biggest news and current affairs from the local, national and international scene on Family Love 97.7 FM Port Harcourt. Listen to the news at dawn at 6:30 a.m. The news at noon at 6 p.m. The news on weekends at 12 noon and 6 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays. Family Love, your source for the news.
And now the rest of the news in business. The federal government has approved a special production-linked tax credit for Shell PLC's Bonga Southwest Aparo Deepwater Oil Project in a fresh move aimed at unlocking billions of dollars in investment and accelerating Nigeria's crude oil production. According to a Bloomberg report yesterday, President Bola Tinubu approved fiscal terms granting Shell and its partners a tax rebate of $11.50 for every barrel of crude oil produced from the project, more than double the standard incentive currently available under Nigeria's fiscal framework. The sources also disclosed that the same production-linked tax credit would be extended to other international oil companies developing new deepwater projects in Nigeria and will remain in force until at least 2029. On the foreign scene, Kenya's High Court has dismissed a bid by a Rastafarian group seeking to legalize the use of cannabis for religious purposes. The Rastafarian community had argued that a ban on smoking cannabis infringed on their rights of freedom and religion and belief guaranteed under the Constitution. In a landmark judgment, Justice Bahati Mwayu said the community had failed to prove drug laws violated their constitutional rights, but acknowledged the need for a broader national debate on cannabis. There has been a continued push to legalize cannabis in Kenya, with advocates arguing that its regulated cultivation and trade could create jobs, boost tax revenue, and support industrial and medicinal use. Rastafarians argued that smoking cannabis is part of their religious doctrine, which must be respected and upheld. And in sport, France captain Kylian Mbappe appeared to be questioning coach Didier Deschamps' tactical approach after they were beaten 2-0 by Spain in the semi-finals of the 2026 FIFA World Cup last night. The defeat ended France's hope of reaching a third consecutive World Cup final as Spain outclassed the tournament favourites to book their place in Sunday's showbiz. Speaking after the match, Mbappe suggested that France got their pressing strategy wrong against Spain's dominant midfield, which was led by Rodri and Fabian Ruiz. The Real Madrid forward admitted France failed both tactically and technically, allowing Spain to dictate the tempo throughout the contest. And that's our package for you, family member. But before we go, here are the main points. Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has called for better funding ahead of 2027 elections. Some indigenes of Eleme community have declared several neighboring Okrika communities as Eleme territory. We also brought you the report that a Kenyan High Court has rejected